Hello and welcome to Secrets of Organ Playing podcast. We are your hosts, Vidas Pinkevičius
and Aušra Pinkevičienė.
We've been mastering secrets of organ playing for more than 20 years and sharing them on this blog since 2011.
On this show, which we create from our home in Vilnius, Lithuania, we strive to help you grow in every area of organ playing, including practice, technique, repertoire, sight reading, hymn playing, improvisation, composition, music theory, harmony, and many others.
Our hope is to help you become a complete musician, or what we call as total organist, a program which we have created to help you reach your dreams faster than you would do on your own.
If you are new here, we invite you to subscribe to receive free updates of this blog at organduo.lt. By subscribing, you will also receive free video how to master any organ composition and 10-day organ playing mini course.
And now let's go to the podcast for today. So I'm here with Professor Christophe Mantoux, who is visiting Vilnius on the occasion of being on the jury of the 8th International Piano and Organ Competition. And I'm very delighted to be able to meet him and talk to him because he's one of my heroes in improvisation. I don't have the specific long list of his achievements over the year to cite to you now, but for our listeners from around the world, from 89 countries, I just want to say a few things that Professor Mantoux has won the Grand Prix of Chartres competition and has been a titular organist at that cathedral afterwards, right, for several years. And his expertise is enormous as a recitalist, recording artist, and improviser, and of course a pedagogue too. So he sits on the jury of many international competitions, probably every month, I would say, right, regularly. Or he will, of course, say more specific things about himself. So thank you so much, Professor Mantoux, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's a very great honor to be here. And of course, you exaggerate a lot. If I would be such a hero, I could not sleep in the night. I would not have time enough to sleep. Well, it's a great pleasure for me to be here. May I first say something which has nothing to do with the organ,
yes,
which is
sure.
just my pleasure to be in Vilnius. I was invited first by Mrs. Renate Le Sieur,
yes,
to play a concert 2 years ago, I think, in Saint Casimir.
Yes.
And it was a fantastic experience for me. It was my first time in Lithuania. And you must know that we call them the three Baltic Republic.
Yes.
They are famous in our country for several reasons. First, it's very unique because they are very small, but they are independent. They are maybe among the smallest independent significant state in the world. And of course, everybody has been extremely astonished about what happened here at the end of the communism time. I don't speak about politics, but just the courage of the people. And so it was for me a great emotion to be here, to see Mrs. Le Sieur took me for a wonderful tour through the city to discover, which I didn't know, all the cultural heritage you have, all the patrimony. It's just amazing. I think it's the biggest concentration in the world of Baroque monuments. Yes. And I listed on the internet something like 15 churches. This time I had more time. As a jury member, you have time. And I visited all of them, and I must say it's just fascinating. It's unique. You know, Venice is something else, but you can compare it in density and in emotion. And the other thing, of course, is the instrument, because the instrument of here is of Saint Casimir.
Yes,
is absolutely marvelous, and I had so much pleasure to play such a fine instrument in this acoustic. The public also was extremely attentive, and yesterday I had the pleasure to hear your wonderful concert. Part of it, I had to go know, of improvisation. So I think you don't need lessons for improvisation.
No. I always need.
No, please. But okay, you see what I mean. And to listen to this fabulous organ, very well played, but also to see the quality of the audience is something very, very special that I appreciated so much. And yesterday, I also attended in this competition the piano competition, part of it, so as much as I could. And it took place in the Music Academy, and just beside you have the museum where the KGB was.
Yes.
And I read all the inscription of the on what happened and the victims and the heroes who were killed in 1945, 46, 47, 50, 55, 57.
Yes.
We have a long and tragic history. And so for me to have the immense shock yesterday to meet the President Landsbergis was something absolutely extraordinary.
Yes.
Because, I relate that. He did what he did, which means a phenomenal courage. And not he is a symbol of lots of people with him. But when he did that and when the people did what they do to face the Soviets, so they knew that they were risking what happened to their predecessor.
Yeah.
And they did it. They were lucky. They were not tortured and they were not harassed. But they knew and they accepted. And so they are, even if they didn't die, they are among the people who did that.
Yes.
They are just the successor. So to face such a hero and being aware he's not a superstar, and I've seen he doesn't consider himself as a superstar. He's one of them.
Yeah.
But all of them, and through him I want to express my respect, my immense respect to but we had such people in France, but long time ago in World War II. So it was an immense privilege and honor to meet such a person. I was extremely impressed.
Actually, I think, I hope that his speech, President Landsbergis' speech, should have been recorded and transcribed, in the media, because it was really long. I didn't listen to the entire speech because I had to go prepared for my own recital, but the part that I heard, I knew that it will be something very special.
Of course, it was something of a philosopher, of a man who is above and who was high. He's a very impressive man, just as a person. But also as what he represents, not only by himself, but a symbol of all the people who are behind him, including the people who passed away under torture and death.
So we're meeting now after the competition now on Sunday at the cafe now, and you might hear some background noises, which I hope won't be distractful for our listeners too much. But our conversation will continue over the cup of tea. We're having a cup of tea and a couple of cookies in the morning. So I'd like to ask Professor Mantoux to start our conversation with the question about the competition, because it's a very recent experience. How, when it's everything now behind your back now, in the past, how do you feel about your work and everything?
Yeah. So when I judge a competition, I judge two things, which is the level of the candidates and the rules of the competition and the way it's organized, which are completely different and sometimes completely independent. So on the level, there is no discussion because we had, I will not say secret, I am not allowed to speak about what we did, yes. But I can just tell you that the votes were very fast anytime and there was no discussion and everybody agreed. Always we were asked, do you agree with the result, and we said yes, of course, because it was very clear. So it was very easy for us to find the best talents. The average level, we had no
very high.
Yes, we had no surprise of people. Sometimes you say, hey, what is that? What did the previous? Because there was a previous step before they made a selection, and so when hey, what did? It's not possible. This candidate should never be in the first round. No, of course not. Everybody has his place here, and the people who are here, they really deserve to be here, and the level was very high. So the first mention, and really the first two and second prize, and even others, who have diplomas, they are absolutely excellent, and I wish them the best. And on the second part, on the regulation and the organization, I would just say exactly the same. It was absolutely splendid, and I know how difficult it is to organize something. You have always problems of keys who has lost by the participant. There are masses, and it was not expected. A jury member is lost somewhere. There is a technical problem on the organ. We didn't hear about that. It looks like, oh, it's so simple. It's never simple. So congratulations to the people, and about the rule, the regulation of the competition and the rule. They are very clever, I think, very cleverly done. And there was a staff who was taking care of it very carefully. But we had the occasion to discuss on the rules earlier, and then, of course, not to change the rule. You may not change the rule during the competition. We agree for the rule, and then, of course, you have to agree. But we were able to maybe to change it before and so, and we discussed carefully with the organizer. We took maybe over half an hour to discuss and to ask very accurate questions. This question, what happens if there is a bad situation and things like that. And we had all answer, and we just did not change any rule. Mm-hmm. So I would say it's just splendid.
Wonderful.
Yes,
I'm very happy because the level of competitors is really high this year. I've heard in the past some strange performances. Many years ago, one person played Passacaglia without the fugue by Bach.
Oh my!
Yeah, because it was written Passacaglia. But
I see.
And the person didn't know that the fugue belonged. So in today's competition it was okay, and everybody played really professional, I think. So the level has improved, and the geography of competitors is really wide, from South Korea to America, from Russia to Czech Republic, right? England, and Italy, and many other countries were represented.
Canada, there was a Canadian, I remember, yes. Russia, Lithuania, Poland.
No Lithuanians. Yeah.
No Lithuanians?
Yes. No Latvians, no Lithuanians.
Oh, Latvians. Sorry. You're sure there were no Lithuanian?
No.
I don't remember.
This year is without Lithuanians.
Yeah. Oh, so Russian, there was a Belgian. I remember. Was there not a German too?
Yes, probably yes.
Yeah. It's very international because, of course, we have a Korean, but the Korean...
And Chinese too?
Yes, Chinese, yes, but also you must. This represents much more, because maybe the Chinese studies in Canada, the Canadian studies in Germany, the German studies, and also it's extremely international.
International, yes, excellent. So, Professor Mantoux, do you remember the time when you first fell in love with the organ back in the early days?
Very precisely.
Could you share that story with us?
Yes, and I am surprised that my history is common to other organists.
Yes.
I went to church, I was a child, I was playing the guitar, the classic guitar. And there was that fantastic sound, in the church during the Mass. It was not a good organ, now I realize, but it doesn't matter, it was in a city which had no big tradition of organ, and this organ has been built during World War II, so with very poor material, and so it was not a good organ, but I didn't know, and it was just for me the most beautiful sound I've ever heard in my life. The fact of being surrounded by sound is something that is unique, and that you only can have with the organ, surrounded by because the instrument is the church itself. And it's something very unique, and I still feel it's very important for me to be surrounded by sound. It's something like a bath of sound.
It's obviously different feeling when you play in a concert hall and in a big cathedral.
Yes, it's different. You are absolutely right. So my first experience was, and this was a big church, so and what fascinated me most was that it was able, this is the only instrument who is able to do that, of course, except the double bass, but to have very deep notes during a very long time. And this is something unique. And I discussed with other colleagues, and they say, yes, for me this was the same also. I was so fascinated that I decided one day to push the door of the staircase, and to go upstairs and to meet a lady. And then it's a long story. And I met the organist, and I became then an organ student of someone else, and etc. But the first thing was, yes, surrounded by sound and low sound. It's something very global, very not precise, but this is very clear. This was Yes.
So wonderful. In early age, people get introduced to the organ and usually fall in love because of its complexity, mechanics, right? Sometimes people go look inside of the instrument to see the wonders inside the pipe work and the mechanics. That fascinates them. Sometimes Johann Sebastian Bach's music is really appealing to people before they get acquainted with the organ. Sometimes church liturgical music, hymns, chant, and chorales.
Absolutely.
Right. So all these things, and in your case, this surrounded by sound and the depth of the instrument, right?
What you say is very interesting because I listened carefully to all what you said, and all these elements were present to me just a little later.
Yes.
Because first I had no experience of all you said. The second step was probably LP. There was no CD at that time, recording of Bach, and then the church music, and then this and that, and all what you said is true. But just the very first step was this. And what you say, for you listener, who some of them are very expert in organ, but some not at all. And I would really recommend them to once again climb to an organ loft and to ask the organist. You are a wonderful organist and you are a very kind person. I am sure if people would go to your loft, you will receive them very kindly, and your colleagues too, and to see what is an organ, because just people don't have any idea of what that is, and they are listening to that every Sunday, and when they discover that, they just open great eyes and say, my God, I had no idea. But just let me say two things. Of course, there are more and more now concerts with camera and the screen down in the nave.
That's wonderful.
And that's why I think it's really wonderful. And people then come to the organist and say, my God, I had no idea you have such, it's so living. So, because people have an image of the organ that is something that doesn't move, you don't see the organist. You just see silent pipes. They seem silent, and they are sometimes not silent, as you know, and not moving. But the organist is moving and giving a lot of energy. First step. And second step, people have to realize that before the electricity and the electronic, the organ was the most advanced technological item produced by human beings.
Yes.
Just this, because it needs a requirement. You have to know about pneumatic physics. You have to master pressures, and so that this is pneumatic. You have, of course, to know about sound. You have to know about metal technology, wood technology, leather technology. You have to be artist, etc., to build an organ. So this was the most advanced step.
Sure.
I would just mention two things. There was a famous story in the late 8th century in France. We received the ambassador of Constantinople, and he visited the mayor of the palace, who was the most powerful man in France at that time. And the present that the ambassador gave, he brought two presents: an elephant and an organ. We don't know what that organ was. It was of course not St. John organ or something. It was something much smaller. But it was to show we are able to produce something which is so complex, and you are not. And until the arrival of the electricity, you had two kinds of items which were always present and brought by every country when you had universal exhibition, world exhibition.
Yes.
You had always a locomotive, because the locomotive is extremely complex, and an organ. Mm-hmm. Today that would be a rocket and a computer or something like that.
Like in Palais de Trocadero, right?
This is an example. Mm-hmm. This is an example. But everywhere, this was also the same in Germany, in England, always. Mm-hmm. So people just are amazed by that fantastic item and all this effort of human being just to make sounds. When you look at the big North German organ, they have pipes measuring 32 feet. Plus the foot, it is more than 10 meters.
Yeah.
10 meters of metal. Today it means nothing, you know, we have tracks of the train, etc. But you must think for the people of the time, of the 16th, 17th, 18th century, to build something with 20,
to mount
10
those pipes
meters,
yeah.
to bring it from North Germany to the Netherlands per boat, etc. It's a huge effort, it's a huge amount of money, of energy, etc. And as you know, not one pipe, but several. And if people decided to make these efforts, like building pyramids and things, it means it's really something. So I encourage people who don't know nothing about the organ, just to put the staircase and to climb as I did long time ago.
Wonderful story, Professor. I'm delighted that you are such a good storyteller and also depict your stories in visual terms. Now people even listening through audio can visualize your ideas right in front of you as if they were watching a movie. Right?
I don't know.
And sometimes organs can accompany movie. Silent
Also,
movies,
absolutely, you're right.
Have you played this way?
I have no occasion, but I must say this is something which is thrilling, and I have it's become more and more fashion. It's maybe a fashion also, you know. But okay, it's a good fashion, I think. And I have attended several concerts like this, very convincing. I would like to mention, especially you are an improviser, you probably know his name, my German colleague Franz Danksack-Müller. He made a incredible thing. I have seen several of his. I don't say that the other were bad, not at all. But really what he made was absolutely amazing during 1 hour and 20 minutes, something like that, you know, without interruption.
For this to happen, do you think that the organ has to be a little bit special, like to have a lot of pistons and combinations to be able to change the registration quickly?
Probably for making a movie that will be because of course you are an improviser and yesterday you made a splendid demonstration of what is possible, but as you said, you had no assistance because you told me, you know, when you improvise, you have to do it by yourself. Yes, but when everybody who improvises for a movie has really to prepare it, of course, because you must know what will be the next sequence, and so and sometimes the changes has to be extremely fast and completely. For example, let's say you have something and it is in a factory, and then boom, it's something somewhere else on the countryside, and you have real technically to have assistance, and so probably yes, the pistons are a good thing for such a situation.
What kind of improvisation do you usually like to play? I've heard on YouTube your French classical style.
Oh yeah, I see. Oh yes, I see.
Do you play something modern too?
Yes, any kind. Depends of the circumstance. You know, if you play in a liturgy, it's very different as from a concert. If you play in a liturgy, you have to just to be an assistant of the liturgy, you are not a solist.
Yes.
So you do what you feel is best for this. You must not, I think, try to make too many experiments, because experiments are sometimes dangerous. You know, when you are in concert, I think you can feel freer according to the theme, to the atmosphere, to that. It's probably there is more invention and risk, and also in concert you don't have the duration problem. You know, in France, we have this tradition of improvisation just because of the liturgy. The Catholic, I don't know how it is here. You are mainly Catholic country, so you have probably a quite similar liturgy. But when you know, the priest asks you, after the sermon, please play 1 minute and 30 seconds. Well,
very short.
Yeah, yes, but if you ask someone, if you would ask even Johannes Brahms or Johann Sebastian Bach to write for 1 minute and 30 seconds, it is already a requirement which force you to make something, to think of what you will do. If it is 1 minute and 30 seconds, you say, okay, I will not write a Passacayan fugue, for instance.
Yes.
And I will, or if I make a fugue, which is possible, it will be a very special fugue.
Like a fuguette, right? More.
Like a fuguette, for instance, you see? Or you will make... So just the duration is already very challenging. When you play in concert, you are much more free and you can decide what you... That's the difference. And for the style, it's also open.
It depends on the instrument, of course.
Yeah.
Probably.
Also, also the theme, because often you are given themes, and depends of also it depends if the people know really the theme, then you can really use and translate and change it. If it's a complicated theme, people first have to memorize it. And I think it's because if you already begin to make variations, and if people don't recognize at all the theme because they don't know it, they will not have fun at all.
It's better to play the theme separately, right?
Sometimes, yes. If it's not known, yes. If everybody knows the Veni Creator or something like that, okay.
Or the Marseillaise.
No, in France, we don't do that because we are in church. So okay.
You don't?
I played. No. I think I never played it in a concert. No. There is a famous improvisation of Pierre Cochereau improvising for the funeral of de Gaulle, of course, of the President de Gaulle.
Right.
Okay.
On special occasions.
This was something very, very special.
I've heard back maybe some 25 years ago, Michel Chapuis was here, and he improvised on the Lithuanian national anthem, which was given to him, probably complete with harmonization, and he created this rondo form with ritornellos, and people didn't know how to react because on the ritornello with the anthem, they stood up always,
Oh my.
and then something else was playing, and then would sit down, and then ritornello again, and they would stand up again,
Really?
and then like 5, 6, 7 times. It was really fun.
This is interesting because what is funny in this situation that everybody in the church knew the theme except the organist. You must realize that.
Exactly.
So the theme means something very deep for everybody and not for the player. And this is often so because they give something that, we know this theme, we of course everybody knows it, we sing it every week at church. But I don't know it, and so I don't know what it means for the people.
I once made the fatal mistake playing German national anthem. Sometimes we have these groups of tourists who ask me to play a private concert for them, and there was one tourist group from German-speaking countries, and I assumed it was from Germany, and I had my own repertoire on this organ, and at the end I had a special surprise for them, German national anthem, and I thought I will delight them, and I did. They were very happy, except 2 people. They were from Switzerland. They wanted their own national anthem. And I didn't know.
Something what I do, because I regularly accompany a group of friends, and this is in the period in beginning of September, and I demonstrate organ and I improvise, and one of them has birthday in that time, and so every time you say, hey, we will sing happy birthday, okay, and so I make an improvisation, but I always hide the theme completely. I give you an example. I begin with the inversion in minor, ti ta ti ta ta, and I improvise on that, which is a nice theme, and then
only very experienced,
ti ta ta ta, and then comes in major, ta ti ta ti ta ti ta, and then finally happy birthday to you. So
and later people will realize what's happening.
Yeah, what is that? Inversion. Hey, yes, this is the birthday of Martin,
Yeah, you have to be very educated to be able to find out what is happening musically within the improvisation, right?
It's challenging,
It is challenging, but fun. Wonderful. So, Professor Mantoux, you have so much experience now in your life. If you could go back in time when you first started, would you change something? Would you study something differently? Or do you have no regrets?
Life is as it is. I had the professor I had, and I am thankful to what they gave to me. I think they did their best with me. I know there were probably teachers which would have said more interesting things to me at that time, and I met them later as colleagues, and so as I was their young colleague, I'm grateful to them. But I think you know, it's not nice if I say I did not have the best teacher, because they gave their best, and they made good work with me. I learned a lot. I could have learned differently, and so this is very precise, technical, you know, on knowledges on these topics, and so that they did not have, or whatever. But then I discovered that finally, you know, there are great pedagogues, and there are few probably, and the people who are their students, they know that they were great pedagogues. This was just incredible. A lesson with Professor So was just incredible. Okay, and then among them you have talented students and not talented students. But I realized that many of us, maybe you share this experience, we are half students and half safe-made man or safe-made woman. And so I would say I am a mix of that. I would be completely dishonest saying I am a self-made man and I am an autodidact. This is absolutely not true. And so, but I know that I learned a lot, really, including basic things, after having been with this professor, through life, through meeting people. It's very important to meeting people, to meeting colleagues, to travel, to discover by myself.
Yes.
On the other hand, I am very lucky because I think my job is learning every day. I learn every day, and I hope I will learn until the end of my life. And you know, in France, we have a program, maybe in this country you have too, that for retired people, not for musicians, for retired people, you have university. We call it the third age university.
Yes.
Exactly.
We have
that. And a lot of people, what do they do? Immediately when they retire, they apply to the university. And which means there is nothing more interesting for me. There is nothing more interesting than learning things. The learning thing is much. I like to teach, but this is something else. I don't learn. I learn a little, bit. When I teach, I learn also. But to teach really, and I have been taught. Each of us, we have been taught when we were children. We didn't know, but we were just at school, and the name of this is the school. And the school, each of us, we have mixed memories of that, because we had some talented professors, some untalented professors, and also because the topics sometimes were interesting. We were interested in language, geography, and we were not interested in math and music, maybe, who knows. But here, when you are a professional, and I choose the topic that interests me. This is music, and I learn every day, and I learn meeting interesting people, as just now discussing with you, and so.
Thank you.
And so it's just, I am lucky. I know a lot of people, they don't have that chance in their everyday life of working. So I am very grateful.
Yes, keep learning through entire lifetime. I think this will actually postpone aging process, right? Because your brain is still developing and you keep creating new neural pathways, and they change and fire in different directions. And as you learn new things, you get you can cheat death a little bit for a while, right?
Something like this.
Yes. Wonderful. And I hear from Martin Zander, Professor Martin Zander, whom I interviewed a couple of days before, that you were interested in math earlier, right? Was it true?
First. Yes.
He was, or you?
Yeah, both. He went more further than I. He has a PhD in physics.
In chemistry?
Yes, but this
physical chemistry.
This is chemistrial physics. Actually, he explained me. He was measuring things with. He was measuring some very, very fast phenomena on atomic level with a laser.
Yes.
With laser. So he said. So I was. I was.
You were interested too.
I was. Yeah, but I went much more in math, not in physics a little bit, not chemistry at all, but math very, very much. Yes. And I studied, but I went. I didn't go so far. maybe I had no. But however, in my country, the studies are not organized so that you can have two things together. So I had to choose. And after 2 years of real professional mathematics specialization, I choose for the organ because I had no more time at all. Because in the French system, it was impossible. I was frustrated because I just had to stop completely the organ, and I was not happy with that situation.
This math experience, did it help you with your organ playing later on?
I think so. Probably not the technical things of math, which are really very technical. You know, the people who are mathematicians and listen to it, it's very technical. But the spirit, the logic, the rigor, thinking quick, being quick, being fast with things. You always have to think fast when you are an organist. Of course, you know, it's very insulting because you are people. They are not good in math at all, and they are very clever and they think very fast. But for me, for my personal experience, it is related with math, and so it learned me to make choice, to memorize things very, very fast. You know, when you have to rehearse, people always think, you know, the public, then the artists have all time to rehearse, but that's not true. I know that for the final of the competition with the piano, they had 50 minutes to rehearse the piano, and for the piano and the orchestra. And we in church, as you know, oh yes, you have to stop now because there is a mass, etc. So we have to be fast, we have to be organized. So it helps me for everyday life, but it helps me also for a kind of logic, which is my kind of logic. Once again, I don't want to insult people. There are people who have more logic than I have, and who are absolutely not good in math at all. So, but in my spirit, in my brain, it's organized that it's related to math once again. So I related it, and to have logic in organ. You know, organ comes from organum.
Yes.
And an organum means it is an organized piece. So organ is a very organized and squarey instrument in its construction, and I think
organism, right?
Organism is organization, and it has to do with the spirit of an organist, and with the counterpoint, the structure of the counterpoint. So for me, I don't say you have to be a mathematician to. I know of fantastic organists that have nothing to do with math and they hate math. But for me, yes, it's related. The way I feel the music and the instrument is related to math. Yeah, I'm sure. Yes,
sure. And sure, in earlier days, you remember Latin education, classical education in Renaissance times and medieval times. Music was part of the four groups of sciences that comprise the area of numbers.
Absolutely.
Quadrivium, right?
Trivium et quadrivium, and it was part of the quadrivium with the math and the astronomy.
Geometry, astronomy and music.
And music. Exactly. And you are absolutely right. And music was considered as that. Now, pay attention, and I think it was really considered like this nearly up to the Baroque time. And in the Baroque time, the people said, hey, we are singing words, and these words mean things. And there are emotion in the world. You have a poetry which is sad, you are speaking of the resurrection of Christ, you are speaking of the death of Christ, it's not the same. And the music should be related to that. And maybe, you know, I read musicology book, but I am not a musicologist. But musicologists could tell you better than I, probably. But for me, the Baroque time is the suddenly appear of the outburst of feeling in music.
It's a theory of affects.
Affects, exactly. Affects, so which means feelings. Yes, the feelings, the moods. Affect is the right word, and it goes through the Baroque and then through the Romanticism. And of course, I am not just a brain and a mathematician. Music is feeling and is emotion. It's something fantastic. But probably, you know, if in the Middle Age they put the music in the quadrivium, it's really because they considered just music in this way and nothing else.
Number area. But even today, those emotions are very important in music, right? When you improvise and you want to express something sorrowful, you choose a Phrygian mode, perhaps. If you want to express something very joyful, Lydian would work, right?
You are absolutely
something
right.
Like that.
You're absolutely right.
Different rhythms, right? Different emotions. All kinds of things which come from earlier times are applicable today.
You are right, but I don't want to scare our listener because you know, life is. You are true concerning the choose of mode and rhythm, but frankly, if I improvise in the Mixolydian mode. And if I improvise in a 3 meter bar, I'm not even aware of that. I do it per instinct.
Yeah.
Life is full of math. When you are cooking, you could say that you could describe all what you do with numbers. You peel the potatoes during so many minutes, and during that time the water is climbing to this temperature and all that. And it's necessary, because if they say you put the potatoes into boiling water, you could say, oh, okay, that is 100 degrees, and I need so much time of so much energy of gas to reach the 100 degrees. This is the same, and you do it per instinct. You just say, okay, I put the water on the gas and I hit my water, and it's your instinct.
Yes.
And I would describe that a little bit more like this for music. We are not aware of the mathematical process, even if they are here.
Yes, sure. And of course, with your experience and expertise, you no longer have to think about it. It's subconscious. It's in your DNA, basically.
Oh, we have to learn it. That's true. Yeah. People are not aware, and I want also to say, there are many people who are not professional, and I really respect them very much. But sometimes the people have no idea that to be a musician is a job,
yes.
and needs to learn a lot. And sometimes people judge, and give. I don't give judgment. I'm not good in economics, Sometimes we have to judge when we vote. Was he good in economics or not? Who knows? I can't, And probably few people really know and have an opinion. So people, but they think, oh, it's music, and I have a cousin who plays the guitar, so I know in music, No, hey, wait. It's a job. And then, suddenly people sit beside me and they see what I do, and I can improvise and I can harmonize a song and then modulate. Hey, how can you do that? Suddenly my cousin cannot do that. And I laugh and I say, hey, I worked. It's my job. It's a job.
The first 20 years are difficult, afterwards it's easy.
Exactly. And Saint-Saëns, Camille Saint-Saëns, a French composer, who was an organist, and he improvised. And he said, improvisation, I don't know if I can translate it into English. It is 1% of inspiration and 99% of transpiration. You understand transpiration?
Can you specify it?
Well, transpiration is when your body is hot and you have humidity coming out of your skin.
Sweat.
Perspiration,
yes.
Perspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So he made a joke and he said, it's 1% inspiration, and the rest is work. Technical work of professional is 90% perspiration.
True.
People don't know that. They think, you have inspiration,
talent, right?
And talent. No, you have to work a lot.
Yes.
And a colleague of mine said also how to be free. A student of him said how to be free when you play, and he answered, you have to know the rules very well.
Yes, then you will be free to break them. Yes, unless...
No, people don't realize how much work there is behind. And work, they think, they look at the pianist and say, the work is just to learn how to move finger quickly and to find the good keys. This is a part of the work, but this is just one part of the work. You have also all the theory that you have to know, and all the analysis and all that to make a good musician. Not just to move your fingers. To move your fingers is impressive because this is what people see. When a chess player plays, you see nothing. He just moves the queen suddenly, and but there is lots in his brain, and in the musician it's not just moving feet and fingers.
Aren't you glad that we all, as organists who are deep in our profession and can create, not only on paper but also in the spot, like improvisation, we all know music theory and harmony really well, and in our days we studied and took it very, really seriously, right?
Yes, I agree, but I don't see a question in your...
The question is, sometimes people hate theory and say, I only want to play the music, and I don't want to learn the theoretical part.
Yes.
And only later in life they discover that they miss something.
Oh, yes. Right? I see, but that is common to lots of things, People don't want to study Latin when they are small, and then they say, hey, that was great. So it's not specific to harmony. It's you are right, but it's common to many other.
Yes. Later we in life get more wisdom.
Oh yes, of course. Well, I must say I had very, very good. I was lucky here. For example, I would tell you, I had fantastic pedagogues in harmony. Fantastic. I was lucky, really. The very first one even was not the best musician, but the best pedagogue. François Lusignan, I quote his name, was a wonderful man. And I see what a great pedagogue is. And it was not painful for me at all. It was pure joy. It was illumination. Every lesson with this person was discovery. And the second one was a very good musician, less pedagogue, but a splendid musician, Jean-Claude Reynaud, was so high, you know, you were facing a mountain where being with these people, it was so inspiring. So I had no problem with theory because I was lucky but I know for many people it's not very dry.
Yes, like an exercise which doesn't relate to practical music.
Yes, exactly. No. This was very practical, and this was just great time. So I was lucky.
I'm very, very happy for you, and happy that we met. And before we end our conversation, can you give our listeners an insight about your future plans after you leave Vilnius? What are you going to do next?
Yes, I have a concert in 2 weeks, I think, in my church. I have to prepare this. I have concerts here and there, but I will not tell you I will play here and here and here. The most important thing is now I really am shared between teaching, which is we didn't speak so much, but teaching is a very important part of my life. You know, I teach in Paris Conservatoire, the regional Conservatoire, Rue de Madrid, and it's a very important part of my life. I enjoy that very much. I am lucky to have very good students, and I really love to give them, to prepare the lessons and playing. And for me, this has, of course, it's not the same. On one hand, I speak and I listen, and on the other hand, I play. But it's a triangle, and it's really finally completely common. And I have now students, they are teachers, but when they begin to teach, they all discover how difficult it is. We think, okay, we just have to say what we know, and then, of course not. All the teachers who are listening to me probably knows that, but even more if it's a private lesson. Maybe I never taught to a group like in high school, you know. I think it's very difficult, but probably if you teach in high school, you have less private exchange with each student. And in my job, I am facing one student. So it's a permanent exchange. And so there are lots of questions. It's just a dialogue. And when you have questions, you have to have the answers. And in art, the answers are not always obvious or simple, or just one answer, yes or no. And sometimes also you don't know the answer because you don't have the knowledge. I don't have all the bibliothèque and encyclopedia in my head.
And sometimes the answer is one on one day and another answer on another day.
Also,
right?
Can
change.
Well, yes, I try to avoid that for one reason, because I had one of my teachers was really so, and it was really very disturbing. Because 1 week he was saying exactly the opposite and if he did that, he was honest, and he had no. But for me as a student,
it was frustrating.
It was just disturbing, because the student needs a direction. Of course, you must be careful, because direction in art, you know, you have to be very careful. But if you don't give any direction, and if you just answer to a young personality who is building his personality, oh, well, you don't know, I don't know, you know, who knows, no idea, etc. I think, no, he needs to have some credo. Be careful. I think that, not it is so, but I think that other people, but to give direction. And okay. Teaching is asking yourself a lot of questions. So as soon as you teach, you learn a lot, and probably even more when you face individuals, because you have to answer lots of questions. And I am sure of that. Where did I read that? I should ask this colleague, etc. And this lasts all life. Of course, then you learn more and more. So this is in one direction. And of course, on the other direction, when you play as an artist, you face new situations, and so you learn more. And also, I had no idea when I chose the organ. I didn't choose the organ; it was obvious. I'm not a pianist. pianist. I did pianist just for technical reason to learn to make scales and studies and things like that, but I'm not a pianist at all. Playing the organ is really facing a new situation every day. And I think it's very challenging and it's very interesting and you learn. And probably, the pianist will tell you it's the same when you play here in Vilnius. It's completely different than playing in Frankfurt, and Frankfurt is completely because the room is different, because the piano is different.
Yes, somewhat.
But the difference are minimal, are absolutely nothing compared to the difference that an organist has. Because really, sometimes the organist plays another instrument, but it means another instrument. It's like if you play the harpsichord and tomorrow you will play the tuba and another day you will play there. And really, you still play, you call it organ because it has pipe and it has keyboards. But except that, it's completely another instrument that you have to handle with it. First point. Second point, sometimes the shape of the keyboard are completely different. The reaction of the keyboard are completely different. If you would give that to a pianist, he would make a scandal. And third point, of course, the acoustic. And the acoustic makes the sound of the organ. So it's very challenging, it's very interesting. But back, it learns you to teach to the student. It gives you lots of things. I come back with a new experience. Oh, I have seen an organ, I discovered this and this, and you say that to your instrument. So there is this relation between teaching and playing. So these are my direction for the future, is to go always deeper in those fields.
I just can expand, Professor, that it's really good to have three types of people in our life. People we can teach, people we can learn from, and people who are on the same path, like colleagues, right? All three are very required people in our lives for our experiences to be complete.
Yes, and so it's just time now to mention and to go back to the first topic, which is the competition in Vilnius. That a third part of my activity, which is not every day, but rather often, to be in juries. I love it for different reasons. I make tourism in Vilnius, but this is not my first purpose. I listen to good music and I discover new talents, and this is always very, very enthusiastic. It makes me enthusiastic. And also I meet colleagues. And it's, we musicians, and especially organists, we are isolated. An organist rarely plays with other colleagues and or with orchestra and so. And here we really have time, we have, for example, the 2 first days, then we have 2 days free, etc., to share opinions with colleagues, and colleagues that you don't know sometimes, and who come from far, so they have completely different. And here I was very pleased. I had, unfortunately, too few contact with the Lithuanian organists because of the language. One speaks very well English and German. The other one is I am not so fluent. So I didn't share. But this is the big founder of the Lithuanian School of Organ, so it's
Leopoldas degrees.
Of course, yes. To have him in the jury is fantastic privilege. But I had contact, of course, with Renate Lessieur, who speaks French perfectly, so there is no communication problem, and also with the president, Hochschinsky, Andrzej Kroczynski, whom I know already from Poland. And we had wonderful discussion, about very precise things, about chamber music, about piano, about transcription for organ and things. We shared lots of them. We had 3 hours ride from here to the final, and this was really deep. And of course, with Martin Zander, Martin Zander, I knew his name, and maybe he knew my name already a long time ago, because I know where he teaches, I know his recordings, and so we shared students, we had common students, and so, and finally we met, and I hope we are good friends now for forever, and we also discussed about music and about our experience as a teacher, and sharing, as you said, the third part is with sharing with colleagues, and Vilnius was a great occasion for me.
Thank you so much, Professor Mantoux. I'm so delighted that we had this conversation over the cup of tea, which is half full now. Still, I have to finish my cup. And before we end our conversation, could you direct our listeners to some place online where they can find out more about your work? Maybe your website?
I first want to thank you for your interest. I'm very honored. Nowadays, it's also a problem which is much beyond me. The problem to be, every artist would love to share his art with people. And so it's not a question of being famous, because this famous does not bring you anything. It's just to share what you think, and sharing my thoughts with teaching is very important. I would be very frustrated if I would just play, but sharing your feeling with the public is important. And so the classical way when I began my career, I would say, don't say how many years ago. That's not important. Long time ago, was to record. I made concerts in the radio at that time. There were many concerts in the radio. I was honored. I played several times there. Now there are again concerts in radio, and they give it. That's good. But I began my career with a CD, and it was the beginning of CD time. But it was very difficult. Just before the CD, there were few people making recordings, and they were big stars, and they were big names. There were 3 French organists, very famous. They made CDs. There were 3 big names in Germany. There were 2 in Italy. It was a simple situation for them. It was not a simple situation for their colleagues, of course. You must think, of course, and the big names, the stars. Then the CD. Okay, I made 2 or 3 CDs. And I didn't try to make much more because I had concerts and I was happy like that. And I consider also that the CD is something that will stay. And maybe I am wrong, because the CD now, you see, how much will they last? And now I get older and I think what will stay? I understand that nothing will really remain. Nothing. But so just to share in the present my experience, now, because you were speaking of websites, at the beginning I had few recordings put on YouTube, and I was rather skeptical. Because of course the quality of sound of YouTube is not the quality that we required on CD. But no, people don't care, Before they wanted the best. Look at my
LP. LP is better than CD, right?
Yeah. But look also at my high fidelity installation. I hope I have this and this, and nobody cares. They just listen with little headphones, and in the street, and they are happy. The same people. Mm-hmm. So YouTube is the main, and so I put some recordings on YouTube. Other people put recordings, and recently, 1 year ago or something like that, a guy wrote to me, someone, very kind man from the Netherlands, and he offered me, can I come to your church and make recordings, for free? I will not pay, you will not pay, just for fun. And I did that. And I think, okay, why not? The quality is not the quality of CD, certainly not. There is no editing or few editing, I don't know. And this will be soon really, I don't know, he's the master of that. And so, but I think if people now want to listen to any artist, you just Google. You put in Google the name and you will find, so if you Google my name, you will find something, but there will be more released than sure. This is the best way if people really are so much interested. Thank you, however, for your patience and your interest. It was a great delight.
Thank you, Professor Mantoux. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we meet again.
Me too.
This blog is supported by Total Organist, the most comprehensive organ training program online, where you will find courses for every area of organ playing, including technique, practice, sight reading, repertoire playing, hymn playing, improvisation, composition, music theory and harmony, with hundreds of scores and thousands of exercises. Here is what some of the students are saying.
Hugh writes, the sight reading course has helped me tremendously. Thank you very much for your essays, courses and all your help.
Robert writes, I found the fingerings, registration ideas and general comments to be excellent.
John writes, I have found your download very helpful. It was really excellent. I have watched some of your teaching videos, and when I read your instructions, I tried to imagine you are there teaching me. You may feel disappointed that I am 2-3 days behind, but I am a slow learner, and I have committed to taking the time to get it right, as you say. But the other night my wife commented that she had never heard me play such a detailed melody in the left hand so well. My left hand is generally poor.
Robert writes, "It has been a great pleasure in my life of having discovered your courses and material as well as the YouTube work of recordings. You have a calm and pleasant way of teaching."
Ron writes, "Hi Vidas and Ausra, thank you guys. What a wonderful response to my email note to you. You've got me right, and I feel you understand my level of playing. Yes, at home, and lucky that I have an organ for that reason. I am paying attention to this, and I am going to try this no longer secret model. Yes, and I love César Franck too. What is very nice about your blog podcast is that Ausra and Vidas are like a Socratic dialogue, and by bouncing things off of each other, so much more information comes out and is expressed. Your comments contain a wealth of information and understanding. I really appreciate this. It is very inspiring and will keep us moving forward."
Would you like to receive the same or even better results that our students are getting? If so, join them at organduo.lt/total-organist. And of course, you will get the first month free too. You can cancel anytime.
Also, if you haven't yet subscribed to receive free updates of this blog, make sure you do that at organduo.lt. By subscribing, you will also receive free video, how to master any organ composition, and 10-day organ playing mini course.
This was Vidas
And Ausra from Secrets of Organ Playing.
And remember, when you practice,
Miracles happen.